Have you ever noticed how you can have all the strategies, all the plans, all the motivation in the world and still find yourself stuck in exactly the same place? There's a reason for that, and it's not what you think. Most people are living inside beliefs they never consciously chose. You think you're making decisions, but you're actually just following a script that was written when you were 7 years old. Your parents said something. A teacher made a comment. Someone laughed at the wrong moment, and your brain took that data point and turned it into a rule about how the world works, about what's safe, about what you're capable of, about what people like you get to have. And you've been living from that belief ever since, thinking it's just who you are. See, most approaches to change work backwards. They try to fix the behavior without touching the belief that's creating it. It's like trying to change what's growing in your garden by painting the leaves a different color while leaving the roots exactly where they are. You are not broken. You're not lacking willpower. You're not fundamentally flawed. You're protecting something that used to keep you safe. That anxiety that stops you from taking risks, it learnt that playing small meant staying safe. That procrastination that kicks in every time you try to level up, it's protecting an identity that says people like me don't succeed. That voice that tells you you're not ready, not qualified, not enough, is running a belief that failure means something terrible about who you are. Your subconscious isn't sabotaging you, it's protecting a version of reality that it thinks keeps you alive. This is what most people miss. Every behavior has a belief underneath it. Every pattern you can't break is being held in place by something you believe to be true. And until you change what you believe, nothing else changes permanently. Here's what I've learned working with high performers across every industry. The most successful people aren't more disciplined than everyone else. They don't have better systems or stronger willpower. They have different beliefs about what's possible for them. They believe effort leads to results. They believe setbacks are data, not verdicts. They believe their value isn't determined by their last performance. These aren't affirmations, they repeat, these are beliefs their nervous system and subconscious actually accept as true. And because of that, different actions feel natural. Different choices feel obvious. What looks like discipline from the outside is just behavior that's matching with identity on the inside. Think about procrastination for a second. Most people think procrastination is about being lazy or lacking focus, but procrastination is actually protection. Present bias plus identity protection. When your identity says, I'm not someone who can do this thing, delay feels safer than attempting and failing, because failure would confirm what you secretly believe about yourself. So your brain creates every distraction, every excuse, every reason to wait until conditions are perfect, which they never ever are. Your brain isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed. Every behavior that frustrates you is serving a function. Overthinking protects you from making the wrong choice. People pleasing protects you from rejection. Perfectionism protects you from criticism. Self-doubt protects you from disappointment. The behavior isn't the problem. The belief that makes the behavior feel necessary is the problem. And once you change what you believe about what's safe, what's possible, and what's true about who you are, the protective behaviors start to dissolve on their own. Let me give you a specific example. I worked with someone who couldn't stop checking their phone during important conversations. Everyone told him he was addicted to technology. But when we dug deeper, we found a belief. He believed that if he wasn't constantly monitoring every communication channel, something terrible would happen that he could have prevented. That belief made consistent checking feel like survival, not choice. No amount of digital detox was going to touch that. We had to change the belief first. Have you ever wondered why some changes stick and others don't? Why you can transform one area of your life completely while staying stuck in the same pattern somewhere else? It's because belief change isn't automatic. Just because behavior changes, you can force new actions through discipline and willpower, but if the underlying belief hasn't shifted, the moment pressure increases or motivation drops, your system defaults back to familiar. The old pattern feels like home. The new behavior feels like you're pretending to be someone you're not. And familiar always wins over foreign, even when familiar isn't what you want. This is why most self-help fails. It treats symptoms instead of causes. It gives you strategies to manage anxiety instead of changing the beliefs that create the anxiety. It teaches you productivity systems instead of shifting the identity that makes action feel dangerous. It tells you to think positive thoughts while leaving the core beliefs that generate negative thoughts completely untouched. Nothing changes until the belief does. You can have the perfect morning routine, but if you believe you're someone who never follows through, you'll find a way to sabotage it. You can learn every sales technique in the world, but if you believe you're bothering people by offering value, you'll never, ever really sell. You can go to therapy for years, but if you still believe you're fundamentally broken, you'll keep creating evidence to support that story. The belief is the root. Everything else is just branches. Here's what most people don't understand about beliefs. They're not just thoughts you think. They're the lens through which you see reality. They determine what you notice and what you ignore, what you remember and what you forget, what feels possible and what feels impossible. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll notice every setback and forget every breakthrough. If you believe you're not a people person, you'll remember every awkward interaction and discount every moment of connection. Your life isn't happening to you, it's happening through you, through the beliefs you hold about what's safe, what's possible, and what's true about who you are. Every choice you make, every opportunity you notice or miss, every risk you take or avoid, every person you trust or push away, it's all being filtered through a belief system that was mostly framed before you were old enough to question it. And the crazy part is, most people think this is just their personality. They think this is just how you are. But personality is just a belief made habitual, and beliefs can change. I see this with relationships all the time. Someone keeps attracting the same type of person, creating the same type of dynamic, having the same type of conflict, and they think it's bad luck or limited options, but it's actually repetition, compulsion plus familiarity bias. They're unconsciously recreating familiar patterns because familiar feels safe to the nervous system, even when it's harmful. The belief underneath might be, love requires sacrifice, or I have to earn affection, or people always leave. And as long as that belief is running the show, they'll keep choosing people and situations that confirm it. The patterns in your life are not random. They're not a coincidence or bad luck or timing. They're the external expression of your internal beliefs. If you keep ending up in situations where you feel undervalued, there's a belief about your worth that's creating those situations. If you keep starting projects you don't finish, there's a belief about your capability that's sabotaging you following through. If you keep having the same argument with different people, there's a belief about conflict or control or safety that's creating that dynamic. Your external world is always reflecting your internal world back to you. Change the internal story and the external patterns shift automatically. But here's the thing that gives me hope. Beliefs aren't facts. They're just stories that got repeated so many times they started feeling true. And any story that was learned can be unlearned. Any belief that was formed can be reformed. It just takes awareness first, then intentional rewiring. You can't think your way out of a belief. You have to feel your way into a new one, because beliefs live in your nervous system, not just your mind. They're felt as much as they're thought. This is why affirmations alone don't work. You can say I am confident 1,000 times, but if your nervous system or subconscious still feels like confidence is dangerous, the words are just noise. Real belief change happens when new information feels safe enough to be integrated. When your system starts to recognize that the story isn't protecting you anymore, it's limiting you. What if the thing you think is wrong with you is actually just a belief you inherited? What if that voice that tells you you're not enough isn't your voice at all? What if it's something someone else believed about themselves or about you that you picked up and made your own? Most people are carrying beliefs that aren't even theirs. They are living inside limitations that were handed down like family recipes, never questioning whether they're actually true or just familiar. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, is this belief serving me or am I serving it? Look, I'm not saying belief change is easy. I'm saying it's possible, and I'm saying it's the only thing that creates lasting transformation. Because when you change what you believe about yourself, about what's possible, and about what you deserve, everything else starts to shift. Not because you're forcing it, because you're finally allowing it. Your life is shaped by what you believe about yourself. And those beliefs were formed in moments when you were too young to question them, too inexperienced to see alternatives, too overwhelmed to choose differently. But you're not that person anymore. You have the capacity now to look at those old beliefs and ask, is this still true? Does this still serve me? Is this the story I want to keep telling? You are not broken. You are repeating a pattern, and patterns can change when the beliefs that create them change. The question isn't whether transformation is possible. The question is whether you are ready to look at the beliefs that have been running your life and decide if they still fit who you are becoming. Because nothing changes until the belief does. But when the belief changes, everything, and I mean everything, becomes possible.